The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Good afternoon, everybody. Thanks for joining us for our overview of the National Science Foundation, SBIR, and STTR programs. We're pleased to have Dr. Nair with us this afternoon, as well as Chuck Eason and David Walker from our, we'll say, sister SBDC program in the state of California. I am John Uveri. I am the SBTDC SBIR program specialist based in Chapel Hill, North Carolina. Happy to be on here with everybody this afternoon. A couple of quick housekeeping issues. We have the ability to provide you with questions using the toolbar on the right-hand side of your screen. You can feel free to type in questions. I would wait until toward the end of our presentation to type in your questions, just to make sure that all of the content has been covered, and then you can ask your questions based on things that may not have been covered. I will then read off several of those questions. We'll probably not have time to get to all of them, but I'll read off a few, and then we can answer those as time allows. So the SBTDC in North Carolina, we're part of the UNC system. We have offices on each of the UNC system campuses. The group that I'm part of is our technology development and commercialization team. And what we do is work primarily as business advisors with early stage tech companies that are based in North Carolina. Chuck and David work primarily with that type of company in the state of California. We're available to work with early stage companies on identifying early stage R&D funding sources, and then continuing on with those clients as they're developing commercialization plans to get their innovative products out into the marketplace. So I certainly look forward to working with you, those that are based in North Carolina, as you're thinking about SBIRs, helping you to walk through that commercialization in SBIR proposal process. So feel free to reach out. My email address is sbir@sbtdc.org. I'm the one who's been sending out information. And in my part, in closing, I will be sending out a recording of this session this afternoon, so you can feel free to review that, and feel free to send it on to other colleagues who may not have been able to attend today. Chuck, we'll turn it over to you for a quick intro for you and Dr. Nair.
Yeah, thanks, John. So I have a similar role as John. I am the SBIR specialist with Tech Futures Group, and Tech Futures Group is a program of the NorCal Small Business Development Center network out here in Northern California. And Tech Futures Group works exclusively with technology companies. And when you apply to Tech Futures Group and become a client of Tech Futures Group, we assign you an entrepreneur in residence who's a seasoned, experienced tech entrepreneur who then can do referrals to any of the specialists within our group. And I happen to be the SBIR specialist. We have other specialists that are like IP specialists, and we have financial modeling specialists, so lots of different resources that are available. You can learn more about our Tech Futures Group. Just go to techfuturesgroup.org to learn about our program. And it's my pleasure today to introduce our presenter, Dr. Nair, who's one of the program directors with NSF, and he oversees the robotics, space, and wireless technology topics. So, this is great to have a program director. You can't get any better than that. It's getting directly from the source. But let me share with you a little bit from Dr. Nair's bio. He's been a program director with NSF since January 2003. Prior to joining NSF, he was the founder and CEO of a Bluetooth wireless product company, where he raised equity capital for worldwide operations in the US, China, and India. Before that, he was a senior systems engineer at L3 Communications, We worked on the Pan-Am-Sat communication satellite. And then prior to joining L3 Communications, he was a mission planner at Iridium. And then prior to Iridium, he's a faculty member at Embry-Riddle Aeronautical University, where he developed an entire space systems design lab. He is a graduate of the Indian Institute of Technology at the University of Texas, and also a registered professional engineer in the state of Florida. So we're happy to have you with us today. So I will turn it over to you, Dr. Hart, to share some information. Thanks a lot.
All right. Thank you, Chuck, and thank you, John. And also, I want to thank David, who's behind the scenes in all this. I don't know if he's still listening, but thank you, David, too. All right. I thought I'll go through a slide deck of about 30 slides. It should take maybe between 30 to 40 minutes. And then, like John had suggested, if you can have your questions written down and send it over to him, or I don't know how that works, but I'll try and answer your questions as best I can. All right, so this is the National Science Foundation. I mean, this presentation is about the National Science Foundation's Small Business Innovation Research and the Small Business Technology Transfer Program. Let me see. I hope you can all hear me, and I hope you're all doing well and keeping safe. All right, so what I'm going to talk about today in the next 30 or so slides is give you a little bit an idea of what the National Science Foundation is and what it does. Then I'll get into the specific program within NSF, the SBIR STTR program. There are, I guess every agency would say that they have unique features about their specific program. We do too, and I'll go through some of that. Just so you get a good idea of what it is that we're looking for and not waste your time too much preparing a proposal that's not either relevant or appropriate. A little something about the various technologies that we've been funding for the last 40 years. So this, I don't know if you know that this program has been around for a little more than 40 years. It did start at NSF. The first pilot was in 1978 at NSF. And then it grew from there across 10 other agencies. So in all, you have 11 federal agencies that have this program, the SBIR, STTR program. Not all of them, not all 11 of them have STTR, okay? But all 11 have SBIR. Then I'll get into a little bit about what it is that we're looking for in terms of projects that, proposals that can be funded. How do you actually, not too much detail because everything is on the website, but maybe some highlights of how you submit your proposals. And then what happens in the review process. Every proposal goes through a panel of reviewers. And so I'll tell you a little bit about how that works. All right, a little bit, I think the next 3 or 4 slides quickly about the National Science Foundation. It's been around since the 1950s. So the National Science Foundation had its 70th birthday just maybe a couple of months ago, in February, I think it was this year. So it was set up by Congress in 1950. Its current budget is about a little more than $8 billion. A relatively small federal agency compared to some other agencies that are worth hundreds of billions of dollars. The budget, I mean, the annual budget. In terms of how it's structured, the National Science Foundation, essentially, I mean, there are some other offices that support the various directorates, but there are 7 of those. starting from biological sciences down to the seventh one, the education and human resources. So the one that's highlighted, that's the engineering directorate, and that's where we operate out of. So we are located, or we're embedded in the engineering directorate. So one of 7. So let me just drill down a couple steps further into the engineering directorate. I think maybe I should move this or close this. Hold on. No, I don't want to do that. Okay, I think that's the best I can do. All right, I just wanted to show you that there are 5 divisions in the engineering directorate. By the way, the budget for engineering at NSF is about $1 billion, a little less than $1 billion right now. And out of that, the 5 divisions at the bottom, you see the 5 divisions starting. I assume that you can see these slides. Okay, so engineering, education, and centers. Then to the right side is the industrial and innovation and partnerships. So that's the division that we operate out of. The SBIR STTR program is administered out of that division, the industrial innovation and partnerships. So that's where all these proposals that you submit finally come to this division for review. And then further, let me see what happened here. Yeah. So drilling down further, and I'm not going to go through each of these boxes, but just to give you a general feel for it, that this division is about now $260 million is the annual budget. And out of that, the one in teal in the middle is the SBIR program. That's about $200 million. So it's a medium-sized SBIR program. There's the big one, which is DOD, which is more than $1 billion. And then NIH is also getting there. NIH, the National Institutes of Health. And then you have these 3 or 4 clustering around the 200 million area, like NASA, DOE, NSF, and so on. So those are the areas. Actually, this slide is more to highlight the program directors who are in charge of various topic areas. So for instance, just for an example, you see that I take care, for many years now, I take care of robotics, wireless, and very recently, the space technologies area. So that's the intent of this slide, is just to show you that there are 8 of us, and you see the 2 empty boxes there, which is because we're looking for 2 program directors to hire, because we're really understaffed now. We usually have about 10 or 11 program directors to handle the 200 million. So we're short now by about 2. That's why the blank boxes. And on the left side, you see the one in light blue on the left side. Those are other programs within the division, and they add up to about 60 million or so. The reason it's kind of important to some of you anyway is that this 60 million must go to the university, wherever you're from, whichever university. So the 60 million is really going from NSF to the university for various purposes. And you can see the various programs listed there, including ICOR. Some of you may be familiar with ICOR. Again, ICOR started at NSF and now is slowly creeping into other agencies. But it started here, I don't know, about 5, 6 years ago, I think. Anyway, so these programs, the 60 million, must go from NSF to the university. Whereas the 200 million in the middle, the SBIR STTR program, it must go from us to your company, to your little company, small company. Okay, so that's the difference between the two color-coded areas on this slide. Oh, I'm going backwards here. All right, so that I hope gives you a little feel for NSF as a whole and where we belong within the organizational structure. I mentioned a couple of times already that it is now I'm talking about the SBIR program at NSF. So it's approximately about 200 million per year. And then with that 200 million, we have been historically over many years now, 20, 30 years average, about 400 companies we've been funding, or we are able to fund about 400 companies every year, small businesses, small companies. A little bit about what is the purpose of this program. I mean, you see these two curves on this slide. The one going from sort of the far left towards the middle, that's the dollar numbers, or the investment dollars, or something that you invest in companies or in technologies or in science. So you can see that in the left side that there's quite a bit of money for discovery science or basic research, which all the universities in America, they indulge in that. So there's quite a bit of money for that. But then as you go towards the right, there isn't too much money, or it starts to come down, at least from the public side, from the government, or federal government, state government, and so on. So that sort of starts to drop off. And then in terms of the distance to the market is the other curve. So you can see that there's quite relatively little money to commercialize or go to the market. On the left side, where it says academia / pre-startup, and then again in between in the development part of the curve, there's enough money, but not quite. So that's where enough private money, I should say. So that's where federal programs come into play. So it is for you, little companies, for you to be able to bridge that valley of death, so-called, that the SBIR program, the phase 1, phase 2, and various supplements help you to get to the other side, to the second vertical dotted line, so that you kind of get closer to the market. So that's the idea. So it's just a de-risking kind of exercise. All right, who's eligible? You of course have to be small business, but it's not really that small if you have 500 or fewer employees. I'll come to some statistics in a little while, but the definition of a small business in America is 500 or less. For now anyway, you have to be for-profit. I say that for now. Non-profits we don't, but there's something in between now coming up, for-benefit corporations and various shades of it that we're looking into. We don't know. We cannot decide. It's got to be the Small Business Administration that decides that. But for all these 40 years, it's been for-profit. You've got to be set up as a for-profit company. You have to be located in the U.S. because all funds, every dollar that we give out has to be used up in America. So you have to be located here, and then at least majority, 51% owned and controlled by U.S. Individuals. So those are the criteria or eligibility criteria. Let me go to the unique features. Now there's some, maybe if you can take some notes here because there's some wrong numbers. I didn't get the chance to change it. Sorry about that. But these phase 1, phase 2 numbers have changed recently, about a few months ago. So you might want to note down that phase 1 now is 256,000 over a period anywhere between 6 to 12 months. This is all now with NSF, with regard to NSF, okay? This is all pertinent and particular to NSF. So 256,000 is phase 1. You can take between 6 to 12 months to finish phase 1. You have to have a phase 1 from NSF, to be able to apply for a phase 2 with NSF. I kind of emphasize that because there are some agencies that will allow you to have a phase 1 from NSF and apply for a phase 2 in that agency. Okay, I just want to repeat that some agencies, federal agencies, allow you to apply for a phase 2 with them if your phase 1 is from NSF, and of course from that particular agency too. So they allow phase 1 from NSF to apply for phase 2 with them. But the other way doesn't work. Okay, you cannot hope that, or it's not allowed. If you have a phase 1, let's say from NIH or DOE, or the Department of Energy or National Institutes of Health, you have a phase 1, you cannot come directly apply to a phase 2 at NSF. Okay, I hope that that's clear. The other change in numbers is on the phase 2 block here, the box. It says 750K, but now it's $1 million. $1 million is the phase 2 funding. NSF phase 2 funding is now $1 million, and usually over a period of 24 months. When you apply for a phase 1 or phase 2, you just stick to these numbers, meaning the time frame. You can always change it. We are a very flexible program. We work with our grantees all the time for whatever it is that they need or require. We try and help them. So you can always change the 24 months to 18 or go beyond 24. Depends on what you're trying to do. Okay, so there are a couple of changes on this slide. I'm sorry about that, but it's 256,000 for phase 1 and $1 million for phase 2. All right, I'm just looking at the time here. Okay. Let's see. Yeah, we're continuing with now specific to NSF. Now, I mentioned that you could be a 499 person company and still apply for SBIR, STTR. But what we've seen, some statistics, this is, I think, over a period of at least 10 years. So we've maintained statistics on a lot of things. We track our companies for a long time after they get an award and so on. So here it says that 9 out of 10 companies or awardees of ours, 9 out of 10, are very small. They're actually micro businesses, oftentimes 1 or 2 people. But 9 out of 10 have fewer than 10 or fewer employees. Okay, this is all statistics about NSF awardees. All right, and then with regard to additional funding and so on from other agencies, again, 9 out of 10 of our awardees is the first time they ever tried any agency for some funding. So they've never, they might have had a phase 1 here and there, but a phase 2, 9 out of 10. I've never had another or prior phase 2 award from any agency, let alone NSF, from any agency. So they're kind of new to the game, and they're not like playing this game to bring in money to the company, but they're serious about taking, at least the ones that we come through NSF. They're serious about taking their products, services, whatever, or even processes to market. So that's a pretty high number, high percentage, 9 out of 10. And then you can see that many of them, 8 out of 10, or 4 out of 5 of our companies, they're very young. The startup, oftentimes they're just 1 year old or 0 sometimes. But many of them, on the whole, historic average, 8 of 10, where they didn't exist beyond 5 years before they came or got an award from NSF. So those are some ideas of the nature of the firm. This is also quite unique, because there are quite a few agencies that would be interested in what you produce or what you come up with, products or services. So they actually buy from their awardee companies, because that's the intent. Is, okay, you develop this for me, and I'll buy it from you, right? But we don't do that, because we don't have any requirements. We don't need anything from our companies. So we're not a customer. I mean, you can develop something from NSF funding and then sell it to another agency if that works. That's fine. But we ourselves are not a customer. And we also don't, tell you that we have special or particular interest in a particular technology area. So we don't. You can propose anything in any area of technology or science. It's up to you. So we don't. I mean, I'll show you a slide where we list a few technologies, but they cover the entire spectrum. So you can come with any idea. That's what the message is. This business of IP, you might think that we come and grab IP or royalty, not royalty, IP, and then we just treat it as our own. We don't. So, it says in the law that we do have royalty-free rights, but in the last 40 years of the program, we've never exercised it. NSF, So we don't claim your IP for whatever reason. And then the focus really is to get you to the market. And then we have lots of ways of doing that amongst our team here. We've been doing it for a while. We know how to do it. And that's our focus, is we'll get to the market, make you a successful company as much as we can. All right. Here, what's important? That's the first, the second. Yeah, again, you might think you have an idea that doesn't fit a particular topic that's listed on the website. It doesn't matter. You just talk to the program or email the program director and see whether it's okay, and most likely it will be okay. So topic fit, it doesn't matter really. We'll find a fit within the processes, within NSF, we'll find a fit and have it reviewed in the right way. So topic fit is highly important. You tell us, you might have understood a particular piece of the market, and if I've identified some kind of need, you tell us. and then come up with a technology solution. And we'll take it seriously. We'll take a look at it, have it reviewed, and then also keep in mind, that you can't just hope to have a product or service or process out in the market just with SBIR funding. It takes much more than that. I mean, on the whole, this NSF, SBIR, STTR can give you, I think, maybe about 2 million. Not I think, it is about 2 million. Phase 1, phase 2, and some supplements, a lot of supplements. So all that can add up to 2 million, but oftentimes, in fact, most of the time, that's not enough to get your product to the market. So keep that in mind and show that in the proposal that you're aware of it. Okay. Yeah, so this is the slide I was mentioning. I'm not going to read through it, but it's just to give you an idea that from advanced manufacturing to nanotechnologies and anything in between, we'll take it all. We'll consider anything that you might have. If you can think of something that's missing here, you tell us and we'll add it. All right. So the idea is that we are agnostic with respect to technology. What kind of science, what kind of technology. In fact, it's the program at NSF, SBIR program at NSF is the most broad. You can just come up with any idea that's worth consideration and not worry about whether it's a fit or not a fit. Okay, a little bit about what is it that we're looking for. It's got to be some piece of technology that has never been worked on, not just in America, but in the entire world. Okay, so it's got to be something that's really new and nobody's done work or thought of how this piece of technology can lead to a product or service anywhere in the world. Because oftentimes I see, for example, in robotics, in my panels, the reviewers will come or bring up some company in, say, Asia or Europe or someplace that, hey, these guys are already doing something like this. So what's so wonderful about what these guys are proposing? So they're skeptical about claims that, it's all very new, but it should be really new, and that you can, get some IP out of it too, to protect your little company with that patent or some sort of IP. Sometimes it goes even to trade secrets and all that, but there's a whole wide variety of things that you can protect, right? But so it's got to be new. It's got to, you have to show its feasibility or viability during the phase 1 and phase 2 and phase 2B and so on. And then this is very important too. There are unknowns. It's not a done deal. That you have to develop it further. There are some technical risks. So that's on the technical side. And then, of course, the commercial. You may be coming up with some very exotic technology, but nobody really cares for it in the market. It doesn't satisfy a particular need or a potential need. Then we'd say that and say, well, this seems like more research than development, and you should apply to the other side of NSF, which is research funding. Okay, so it's got to be commercially, it's got to be some sort of game changer in a particular sub-segment of the market. And then, of course, we have a lot of internal ways and programs to drive the company, our grantees, to figure out what is the product and what is the fit to the market and all that. So we've done this, or doing this, have been doing this for many decades. So I think we have learned a few things. All right, that is what we're looking for. We're not looking for this set of items. Basic research, we're not doing that. I mean, it's all important, but it's the other side of the foundation. In fact, most of the foundation is about basic research. We're not interested in some little itty-bitty improvements on existing products. Okay, so no incrementalism, not interested. It also is true that, the chance, if you see that the chance of commercial success is hardly there, then, because this is an investment, this is a taxpayer investment. So if there's no chance or it seems very weak on the commercial side, well, we don't want that either. One other thing that you may not think of, right, is this next one, that we want to have a big impact. Our dollars, very early stage, okay, very early stage, and when practically nobody is willing to put money into your company, we are willing to do that. So we take that high risk for that high, big impact. If we cannot do that, like, you might have raised, say, a software company raised only $5 or $10 million, and we put in another 250 or something, it's not going to make much of a difference. You're already there, so there's no point. We want to make a big impact. Obviously, market studies and all that, we don't fund that. All right, so about proposal, the submission. I don't know how much you know about this program at NSF, or how much you've actually gone to these links that are listed here, how to apply and what it's about. By the way, it's called Seed Fund for a reason. We had quite a time trying to convince SBA, or the Small Business Administration, to use this kind of a seed fund as if other federal agencies don't exist, right? But that's what it's called, seedfund.nsf.gov. Okay. So, you might ask, we've been kind of pompous here, or not really. I mean, we have the results. You can check. You can check all this on our website. All the companies, not all, but the ones that have done very well. So many, literally hundreds of them. They have done very well. Changed markets and made market capitalization of billions with a B of dollars in a matter of 8 to 10 years. So there's many examples, not what I'm talking about, multi-billion-dollar companies, but several $100 million companies, many of them. So I think we know sort of what we're doing, and we will help you along. But first, you have to submit. You have to do some reading and research. Get all your ducks in a row about eligibility, registration, and this and that. That could be quite a pain, but you have to do it. Once all that is done and you read a little bit of what is required, and you think you're ready, then the first thing you do is to submit this pitch. It is required now. It wasn't before, but in the last, let me see, about 2 years or so, we started this pitch process. So you got to submit this pitch, and then some guy like me would take a look at it if it's in robotics, let's say, and then I'll tell you if it's good to go. Why don't you please submit a proposal? Looks good. Sounds like a great idea. think it's got some legs, will have some legs in the market, those kinds of things. And I'll say, okay, please, why don't you submit a proposal? Or if there's something missing, I might ask for some revision. Or the other outcome is that, there's nothing in there. It's all done. There's really nothing there. So I'll tell you no. Don't bother. You can only submit a proposal if the pitch is accepted, and I tell you, not just me, but my colleagues, depending on the technology area, they'll tell you that you please submit. That's an invite, and so you can submit a proposal. We have these, again, now all kinds of things we're tweaking around and trying out, including the pitch process, including ICOR, for example. So all the time trying to hopefully better the program. So now instead of 2 windows in a year, we have 4. Every quarter we have a window open. So the remaining 3 windows for 2020 are listed, the dates are listed here. So one is coming up, June 4th is the deadline, but then it's no big deal. If we miss that, you just submit it in the next window. But there is a big deal, sorry. There is a big deal in the sense, your review gets pushed out by 3 months. Before it used to be 6 months, because we took proposals in only once in 6 months. So now it's once in 3 months, but you try and make before the close of a particular window, because if it goes into the next one, then your review and the panel and putting together the reviewers for the panel will push it out another 3 months. Okay. So just in terms of timeline, right, if suppose you are thinking of, let's say the next window, June 5th to September 3, then you should have your pitch and all that submitted, I would say sometime in May. Sometime in May is a good time, so you'll know, okay, because pitch, we return it, we're supposed to return it in 3 weeks. We get hundreds of them, so you're supposed to return or respond to a pitch in about 3 weeks. Less than 3 weeks, that's the goal. So if you submit in May, then you'll know, say early June, that okay, I can submit a proposal, I can work on it, I have time, 1 or 2 months to prepare it fully and submit it. Okay, so those are the windows. Let me see. Anything else here? Yeah, I think I've covered it. So you might wonder, okay, what is this pitch business anyway? What are you expecting? So if this lists out, I hope this slide deck is available, will be available to all of you. I can send it out to John or Chuck or David, and they can distribute it. Anyway, this is being recorded too, but it's good to have the slide deck also. All right, anyway, what is the pitch? The pitch, of course, needs some information about you and your company, where you're located, and so on. And then you got this 500 words, another 500 words, 250, 250, 1,500 words. About between 2 to 3 pages. Tell us about, what is so new here? What's so wonderful about what you're proposing? What is the innovation that hasn't been thought of or done or anywhere in the world? What is it? 500 words. All right, so that's great. So how would you reduce the risk? I mean, if it's such an innovation, of course, obviously there will be a whole bunch of attendant risk involved, right? So what is it? What are the risks, and how are you going to reduce it in the 6 to 12 months in phase 1? Or maybe it even goes into phase 2. That's all okay. But the idea is that you know that these risks have to be mitigated, these set of risks. So what are they? So in 500 words. Then a little bit about the makeup of the company. First of all, um, about what the team is, what's the makeup, and then also where do you think you're going with this in the market in terms of a potential customer? What does a customer need look like? You kind of identified some need that would make the world a better place, and so they have the need and the customer, and what are the things that the customer is unable to do without your idea. And if you had your idea, product or service or process, then he or she, or the entity, business entity, or the large company, it could be a large company, will really make a killing, or become even more profitable, or whatever the metrics are. So those are the things that you put together. 500 words, another 500, and a couple of 250 words. So put all that together. Do a serious, committed, serious effort to put together this pitch. And then we'll take a look at it. Like I said, we turn it around in usually less than 3 weeks, but sometimes, depending on the part of the year, I personally try and do it even faster. Sometimes I've done it in a week. Sometimes it might take me 2 weeks because I got other things to take care of on the job. Okay, so that's the pitch. So you got to start with that. And then you get an invite. I'm speaking for myself. I'll look through the page and I'll tell you whether this is good to go very quickly. And if not, I'll tell you why not. And then if it doesn't have anything in it, I'll tell you that too. I'll tell you what that means, when I say it has nothing in it. What does that mean? Okay, I'll tell you about that I think the next slide. Okay, program objectives. Okay, these are the things that we want you to do with the money, the NSF phase 1 funding and phase 2, that these funds are only for R&D, research and development tasks only, right? Okay, so what does that mean? So it says that you're going to do something that will advance the state of the art or state of knowledge or the understanding of the matter, subject matter, right? So some research has to be done, some unknowns. And then, of course, that's research. Okay, that's fine. But there's a difference in the SBIR program, and what is it? That this actually can be applied. This new insight that you gain, new knowledge, can be used to solve a problem. Solve a problem. So somebody needs this. So that's what you're doing the research for, is that you're trying to fulfill a need, and then you're going to do it either towards better materials or some new fancy device or some such thing. So that's all part of the R and the D part, right? But the D part also has some kind of end point, meaning some need. It's not a development for its own sake. Okay, so we're talking about the proposal now, not the pitch, proposal. All right. Now these are objectives, and these are not what we want. All right. So this is the non-responsive. If you put all this stuff in the proposal, it's going to be a weak proposal. So what does that mean? That means, there's some incremental changes, it's already the state of the art, and tweaking it to get some little bit more. That's not what we're looking for. Or it's some, engineering effort. No hard. What does that mean? It's just no technical risk. It's just straightforward engineering. It's just okay. You have an engineering base knowledge, and you can just figure it out. Really, what do you need NSF funding for? We don't do all this evaluation and testing and so on. Nothing. No evaluation and testing. No, it won't be funded. We don't want that. I mean, evaluation and testing of your product that you're developing, that's a different ballgame. We're just saying that there are products already there, and you want to evaluate or test it. No, we don't provide funding for that. Again, going to the other side of the pendulum, you say scientific research, no connection whatsoever to any need that anybody may have. No, it's just curiosity. I just want to know. Okay, that's fine, but that's not the purpose of this program. All right, and then of course, sometimes they'll throw in the proposal, they'll throw in some market research or manufacturing. You cannot do this for manufacturing some product, and that's hardly the purpose of this. And then patent costs, we've been thinking about it because it's becoming so expensive, and this is what our little companies depend on. So there's some leeway developing about that. So we are slowly allowing, don't take my word for it, yes, allowing phase 1, phase 2 grantees of ours to use some funds for patents or intellectual property, whatever it is. It need not be just patent. It could be, I don't know, trademark registration or whatever, right? Okay. So those are essentially not what we're looking for. And finally, I don't know how much time has gone by. This is almost like quite long. Sorry about that. It's going longer than I thought. Okay, I'm going to wrap it up now. So we're looking for two things: intellectual merit and then broader impact. So that's the criteria. In the panel, these panelists, they're sitting around the table discussing a bunch of proposals, and yours is one of them. They're looking for this. Okay, what is the intellectual merit? Is it a qualified team, solid team, state of the art? They got the resources and the technical wherewithal. All right, and then broader commercial impact. Okay, all this is fine, maybe great research and so on, but again, like I pointed out, it's got to lead to some solution to some need or requirement, right? It could also be an enabling technologies, so certain instruments that we fund the development of. It could be enabling. And then, like I told you, remember that the SBIR funding is not enough. And we have, like, I don't know, 20, 30, maybe half, 50% of our companies anyway going and attracting additional funding. Doesn't seem to be a problem. I mean, it is, of course, tough, but it's not that big a problem. They do it. They can do it. With NSF phase 1 and phase 2, they're able to raise additional money. Okay, the last thing is the last slide. Oh yeah, sometimes you wonder and worry about this, submitting and putting things in the proposal, and then you can't get a patent because it's public disclosure, blah, blah. No, it's not public disclosure. Submitting this proposal to NSF is not public disclosure. Everything is confidential. You can even mark certain sections of the proposal as proprietary. If you don't, I ask for it. If you're being considered for an award, most of my colleagues do that. They're both mix of both technical and commercial experts in every panel. Yeah, process takes a bit long, but that's the way it is. It's after all taxpayer funded money, so there are no strings attached. in terms of returning it or anything like that. So it takes about 4 months, and then usually the award starts at the end of 6 months after submission. That's been the historical um, pattern. All right, that's it for me. I hope you got something out of it. And if you have to reach out to me or it's some other technology area, then I can forward it to the right person. So there's my email and my phone number for you to get in touch. All right, thank you, everybody. I hope you found it a useful use of your time.
Thank you, Dr. Nair. At this point, we've got a number of questions that have come in. And as the questions were coming in, if they were questions that I could answer, I've typed in my responses so that hopefully the original questioner was able to see those answers. A couple of questions that I was not able to answer. I'll voice those right now, and you can add your feedback. First question is, you mentioned there's some job postings for SBIR, STTR vacancies. Are they listed in a particular place that people can go to look?
Yeah, they can. But I think we are well into that process. I've seen some interviews already being conducted, and we're probably at the fag end of it now.
Okay.
That they have certain people in mind. They may make an offer, or may not. They may not accept it. That's a different story. But there are at this point 2 vacancies. Yes, but the process for searching has begun.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
The wording about U.S. individuals as it relates to the eligibility criteria for participating in the SBIR and STTR program is a green card holder considered eligible?
Yeah, as long as you're legally allowed to be in the U.S., not a problem.
Okay.
You should be legally allowed to be living and staying in the U.S. Yes.
All right. There were a couple of questions about people from academic settings, and my feedback to them was that it is always the small business that is the submitter of a proposal, and the proposal is awarded to the small business. The principal investigator for an NSF phase 1 and phase 2, whether it be an SBIR or an STTR, requires that principal investigator to be majority employed by the small business at the time of the award. That's correct. Correct?
Yeah, all that you said is correct. Yep.
Great. And so hopefully that is clear to everyone. Another question, are current phase 1 proposals, those that were accepted in December 2019, are they being delayed? Are the results being delayed in terms of reviews for those?
No, the answer is no. As of today, there are no delays at all.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Next question is, can the pitch document include figures or is it simply text?
I mean, I've seen some with figures and other things in it. It's okay as long as it comes through as a figure and it doesn't exceed the 3 pages.
Okay.
Yeah.
Next question. Is there a program for COVID-19 related projects where the review time is accelerated?
Yeah, I think I have to tell you about that. Yeah, we've been kind of inundated with these. I don't know, maybe you're familiar with this, that we started a COVID-19 track of proposals. That was, I think, about maybe 3 or 4 weeks ago. And can you imagine? We've had more than 1,000 pitches. 1,000 pitches come in 4 weeks. And so now we're wondering, and we had also suggested in May when we made it public that it'll be a quicker turnaround or a quick turnaround of about 6 weeks. But seems like because of the volume, I don't know if we'll be able to make it. Because, of course, 1,000 pitches, maybe 1,000 pitches, but how many proposals? We don't know that yet. But even if it is like, I don't know, 1 in 5, 200 proposals, to be able to do that, turn it around in 6 weeks, I think probably is impossible. I'm just sharing that with the community that we'll try our best, because this is the first time we're doing all this. And so we thought we could, and we didn't kind of think through the volume. And so there are many that are just simply throwing in pitches, because it's another opportunity for some funding. But if there are like 200 proposals, it's like almost what we get in every 6 months.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I
So,
Chuck Easton, I was curious, are you planning to use an external review panel for those as well, or is that going to be the same process?
yeah, it's the same process with external reviews and panels, all virtual, of course, but the same process, yes.
Okay.
Next question, sort of related to what you just spoke about, is how many pitches do you generally get in a typical window, and what percentage of those pitches do you often invite to submit a full proposal?
Okay, I don't know across the program the numbers, but I can tell you my numbers, which is kind of typical anyway. So for each window, let me see, hold on, 3-month window, I've got about 1,000 pitches so far, but over 2 years. Maybe I'll get about 200 pitches, about 200 pitches every window. It's not like a large data kind of answer that I'm given. It's only been a year, a little more than a year since we started the pitches. Anyway, I might have got 200 pitches in the last window, let's say the September, December, January, March window. I might have got about 200 pitches. And I'm seeing, let's see. And I would have invited maybe about 70%, 70% of the 200. But I've seen the number of proposals, actual proposals, because it takes more time than they thought, whatever the reason. I got about 60 some proposals.
Okay.
I hope that helps.
Great. Next question is, if I submit a proposal in April or May for the June 4th deadline, would I expect to receive an award notification in October or January?
Okay, so let me see. This is in the April-June window?
Yes.
Right. Okay. April, June, then July, August. Oh, they'll know by September. They'll know whether they're getting one or not.
Okay.
But the actual award will be like October or so.
Okay.
It won't be January of next year for sure.
What is the typical phase one award rate in your sector?
Oh, that number I can give you for the whole program, not just my area. So for the whole program, the award rate for phase one, let's see. Historically, over the last, say, 10, 15 years, it's been 1 in 6, but is now creeping up to 1 in 8. I'm sorry, it was 1 in 8, now creeping up to 1 in 6. I hope I didn't confuse you. It used to be like 1 in 8 was funded, phase ones, but now it's creeping up to 1 in 6.
Great.
Yeah.
Next question is, could you repeat your email address?
Yeah, sure. You want to put up on the screen, you mean?
Sure.
Yeah, I can do that. Yeah, right there.
Great.
It's the last name Nair, Nair, at nsf.gov.
Great. Next question is, can you be a U.S. citizen but have support resources offshore, for example, in Canada?
Yeah, what does that mean, support resources? Why I ask that is that no funds can be used outside the US.
Okay.
No funds. I mean, you can use resources from anywhere in the world as long as the NSF taxpayer funding is not used outside America.
So a question from my side of things is that if you allocate all of the NSF funds to work that's being done in the U.S., but you suggest that you are going to bring in outside funds, non-NSF funds, to carry out work that will still be part of the phase one, but you're going to fund it for those offshore resources or overseas resources. Is that acceptable?
Yeah, the company can find its own resources, non-SBIR funds, to get anything done anywhere.
All right. A couple of people are asking, where can I get a copy of this presentation? Will it be recorded? Yes, after we're finished up here this afternoon, I will send out a link to the recording as well as the PowerPoint presentation. So Dr. Nair, if you would email me the PowerPoint that you just presented, I'll get that out to everybody.
Yeah, I can do that. Not a problem. This is John, right?
That's John, yeah.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I can send it. I can send it to Chuck, David, and you.
Great.
Yeah.
Just a couple more questions. I know we're coming up on, we're just past the 2 o'clock hour, so we'll limit it to a couple of more questions here.
I can be here, John, till about 2:30.
Okay,
It's okay.
so you've got time. I've got time as well. Awesome. Let's see. Should we be contacting program officers before submitting the pitch, or is that not recommended?
I mean, you can, but you won't get a response because it's just too much volume, right? So I mean, you can. Many people do, but you'll get a canned response. Like if they send a question pre-pitched to me, I have like a canned thing that I send back. I don't indulge in phone conversations or email exchanges because we just don't have the time.
Sure.
But they'll get something from me that they can work with to prepare their pitch.
Okay.
Yeah.
Next question. To what extent are health-related projects, such as cancer treatments, funded by NSF, or should they be focusing specifically on NIH instead?
No, they can apply to NSF as long as there's no drug development involved and there are no clinical trials involved. It may be a development of an instrument or some way of trying to find the next new molecule, that takes sort of AI or something else. That's all fine. In fact, we have 3 or 4 topics in the general biology area. So you should look at the NSF too for those kinds of projects.
Okay.
We fund quite a lot of them, except, like I said, the drug development, the clinical trials, and so on.
All right. Next question. Can you repeat the process for COVID-19 proposals?
Can you repeat the process, meaning?
For submission or reviewing of solicitations for COVID proposals?
Oh, it's the exact same.
Okay.
There's no difference. You submit a pitch, and then you get a response, and you submit a proposal. Same process.
All right. What is the phase 2 win rate for NSF?
The phase 2 win rate is pretty good, pretty high. I mean, the key is to enter the door through getting a phase 1. Once you have a phase 1, like I said, the chances used to be 1 in 8, now it's 1 in 6. So similarly, in phase 2, right now, moving forward, it's historically it's been like 1 in 3, but now it's moving to 1 in 2.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
Does every pitch get reviewed that's submitted?
Yes, every pitch.
Okay. Next question. Why does it take, and I'm certain of the answer of this, why does it take so long to get the pitch and proposals reviewed? I'm sure your answer is that it's a bandwidth issue, just like we always run into on our end of things. But is that the case in terms of why there's the lag time for reviews?
Yeah, now let me answer that a little more in detail, because somehow they have people, the general public gets the impression that it takes too long. But we know from experience that if you go to a VC, a venture capital firm, or a private equity, or whatever, private sources of funding, they take equally long or even longer, right? Okay, that's besides the point. But let me address what we do, or why it takes long. Pitches, I'll first answer the pitches and then the proposals. Pitches, we're getting the number of pitches on the whole, for the whole program, okay? We're getting about 1,500 to 2,000 pitches every 3 months, right? So if that's the volume, and we're giving ourselves 3 weeks for a response, and individual program directors handle it each their own way. Like I mentioned, I try and respond in usually a week, or at the most 2 weeks, depending on what's going on. So that's pretty reasonable. So you got to start early. I mean, you don't wait till the window opens. You just give it 2 to 3 weeks before to submit a pitch. And by the time the window opens, you have the response to the pitch. So some planning on your side, on the potential grantee side, will help, because the volume, you can't just do it. It's physically impossible to do. Okay, that's on the pitches side. On the proposals, we, of course, trying to do better. Like I said, it used to be a 6-month window, or 6-month deadlines every 6 months. Now it's every quarter. Now, isn't that an improvement? Now, it's a very involved process. We have to be careful about who we funding and for what reason. And we have to be sure that what we're funding is the state of the art and has never been done anywhere in the world. All that takes time. We can't simply decide just by reading the proposal. We have got to set up the panels. We got to I bring in, for my area, about 100 reviewers every quarter. They have to be available. They're not just waiting, sitting around doing nothing. So it all takes time, and the review has to be thorough. It has to be kind of make sense to the proposer that, okay, yeah, these are definitely holes and weaknesses in the proposal. The feedback should be good enough. And so all this takes time. I mean, we've tried. We've been at it for 40 years. We've every year, every quarter, in fact, we try and find ways. In fact, we are the most efficient program in the country among all SBIR. I can say that. I know, because I'm in touch with all the other agencies, and we know that we are the most efficient. So if this is what you get being the most efficient, you might wonder, how could it be any worse, right? But it takes time. It just simply takes time for a thorough job.
Yeah, and I would certainly agree that in our experience that we've seen that NSF is certainly the most efficient and rapid in getting responses back to clients.
Yeah, I mean, I every email I personally I will respond within 24 hours. That's my goal. And sometimes it doesn't happen because I'm tied up or I'm in a panel whole day, things like that. But my goal is every email that I get will be returned within 24 hours or less. So we're working at that kind of level or trying.
Great.
Yeah.
All right. Next question. Once a proposal is submitted, is there a method to track the process or the progress in terms of when reviewers are assigned, what the review dates are, and what the submission status is?
No, there's no public way of giving out that information, but they can always contact the program director to find out where is their proposal. Is it in panel? Is it getting into panel? Is it post panel? All those questions, they can reach out to the program director and he or she will tell you exactly where the proposal is.
Next question. Do we need to have a patent prior to submission of a phase one proposal?
No, that's not required at all. No, the answer is no. But some thinking around intellectual property, some strategy, some thought, that should come through.
Great. For behavioral and other health technologies, would a phase two require a clinical trial at NSF? And does NSF fund clinical activities?
No, we don't. We don't fund any clinical trials or any clinical activity.
Okay.
We, of course, have proposals that, have or do experiments with humans and animals and so on. But for that, we need an IRB. And that happens, not very often, but in any one cycle, for example, I'll have, imagine in robotics and wireless and so on, I'll have maybe a half a dozen every quarter. No, sorry, every 6 months. I'll have a half a dozen IRBs that are required if you work with animals or humans. So I do have that.
All right.
And I can imagine in other areas like my colleagues who handle, say, biomedical engineering or biology-related areas, medical devices, and so on, they'll have much more. But they do.
Let's see. Next question. Will availability of funds decline this year as a result of COVID-19? In other words, are proposals submitted in May more likely to be funded than those submitted in November?
No, like I said, it has made no difference to us in terms of time taken to make awards. We have seen there are no indications of any delay as of today.
Great. Is there guidance mentorship included in the funding?
Yeah, we're slowly getting there. I think it's already allowed because we allow our grantees to set aside $10,000 for boot camp or ICOR related activities already. And in phase two, it's even more, it's $50,000, all coming up, all very recent. So that's all related to commercial-like activities.
So after a phase one proposal is reviewed, is there any additional due diligence that's done before an award is made? Meaning, is there an additional conversation between NSF and the submitter to tie up any loose ends or questions that the reviewers have?
You mean after the award is made?
After the award, after the proposal is scored, and we'll say it's on the tipping point, is there any additional due diligence that's done in cases like those?
Oh, yeah. In every case, for a potential awardee, not just because of some issues related, I mean, brought up or brought out by the panel, for every award that we make, phase one and phase two, there is due diligence. After the panel is done, and after the panel has recommended to the program director that this ought to be funded, after that is done, then the program director goes back and forth with every potential awardee. They haven't got the award yet. Every potential awardee back and forth in due diligence, and that could take between 2 to 3 weeks.
Okay. You mentioned some supplemental funds beyond phase two. How do those work? Are those made available to everybody, or are you invited to submit for supplemental funds?
No, every phase two awardee is eligible for all supplements. They don't have to ask anybody's permission. I mean, they can let the program director know, be made aware, but there's no permission required. Any phase two awardee can apply for all supplements.
Okay. Next question: how often do companies not get funded after the panel recommends funding because of a problem in that due diligence that you were just speaking about?
Yeah, usually the problem doesn't come during the due diligence between program director and grantee company. This is especially, no, not especially, it's only true in phase two, because in phase two, they have this financial viability of the company exercise that we don't, program directors don't get into. It's, it's the budget people and the CPA firms and so on. For phase two, they go back and forth with the grantee company, and it could get killed there. The phase two award, potential award, could get killed because the company is not financially viable, as determined by a CPA firm and a bunch of budget types. So that has happened, but not often. It's like I'll tell you about. I mean, totally killed is about like 1 or 2%, but a reduction in the budget is quite common. I would say about 20%. A reduction in the, say, 1 million. They might have asked for 1 million, and they might get, for whatever reason they determine, the CPAs and the bean counters, that it should be 950,000. That happens.
Great.
But not an outright rejection after the program director has recommended funding.
Next question is there a limit to the number of phase ones and phase twos that a company can receive from NSF?
No, there is no such limit, but we have seen over the long period of time, I think I would say almost 20 years now, in the NSF program, that very seldom these days do companies receive multiple phase ones and phase twos from the NSF program.
Okay. All right. I don't see any other questions popping up. Again, as you were answering these, I was typing in some responses to questions that I had clear answers to already.
Right.
So certainly, I ask attendees that are still on, if they have questions, feel free to reach out to me in North Carolina. If you are a North Carolina company, my email is SBIR@SBTDC.org. If you're located in California, feel free to reach out to Chuck Eason. Chuck, what was your email address again?
Yeah, mine is Charles Eason, and it's EASON @Comcast.net.
Okay, great. So I think that wraps up our session. Certainly appreciate your time and your energy and all the work that you've put into this program over the years, Dr. Nair. We very much appreciate that. Appreciate everybody's attendance this afternoon. Again, I'll be sending out the PowerPoint presentation as well as a quick survey and the recording of the session so that everybody can review it. And certainly for those that were not able to attend, they can take part in the information as well. So with that, we'll sign off. Again, thanks for everybody for joining. Thanks to Dr. Nair, David, Chuck in California. Thanks for helping to put this on. And we'll go ahead and sign off. Have a great afternoon, everybody, and take care.
All right. Thank
Thank
you, John. Thank you, Chuck, and thank you, David, for giving me the opportunity.
Thank you.
Take care. Be safe.
Great.
All right.
Thank you.
All
Bye-bye.
right. Okay, bye.